Hello, everyone. In 2019, based on the vision that was set by the then mayor of Freetown, Yvonne Aki-Sawyer, the Freetown City Council, and communities across the city, there was a movement to create what is called the Transform Freetown Agenda. Within the context of that agenda, there was a goal that was set to increase tree and vegetation cover across the city by 50% of 2018 levels. Quite an ambitious goal, and particularly being that that goal was set for to be done by 2030. Within the context of setting that goal, we moved toward establishing the first ever climate action plan. The basis of that climate action plan is to build out ecological infrastructure across the city in the most vulnerable spaces, and to work with residents throughout the city to envision a future that is equitable within the context of adapting to climate change. So we had to set out and understand exactly what those adaptation pathways look like, and internalize those pathways across every vulnerable community within the context of that space. We are a city of 1.2 million, as the mayor said. 60% of the population lives in and around levels of informality. Those levels of informality make the level of vulnerability to climate risks massive. So we've set ambitious goals within the context of the Climate Action Plan and the development plan for the city, mainstream those into the activities across the city, and co-created with communities a pathway to a future of safety, security, and a level of equitable adaptation within the context of withstanding the effects of climate change. The Tree Town campaign to plant and grow 1 million trees is the core flagship focus of the ecological infrastructure pathway to climate adaptation, which was designed as a locally led adaptation project that has 4 major elements, where community members plant, digitally track, geotag, and digitally track and care for trees. There's a separate verification process over a period of every quarter. So each quarter we are looking at whether or not the trees that were planted by the community growers are growing. At this stage, we have 1,200 community growers across the city. Each of them are responsible for at least 1,000 trees. Those 1,000 trees, once they're planted, at planting, they're geotagged, and we create sort of a digital record so that we can track the life and the growth of each tree. On the basis of that, after verification, on our platform where the trees now sit, we move into a process that we call tokenization. Why do we tokenize trees? We tokenize the trees because the token allows us to give the tree value and move that tree then into a market, either a private market or a carbon market. Because we are seeking through this process to green our city, to get the ecosystem services from that greening, but also to get the resources necessary to finance that process. So we circulate those resources back into the communities so that we can reach our goal. Right now, we're at 1 million. This year, we should reach the 1 million goal. But our new goal is 5 million by 2030 and 20 million by 2050. That is the level of ecological infrastructure that is necessary in our city to save it and to save our populations. And so in order for us to do that, we need sustainable financing. That's what we need. And the way we do that, is that we track individual trees. So if we want to create an investment context that is viable, we need to be able to demonstrate that we know where those trees are, that those trees are growing, and the level of CO2 that is actually being stored or sequestered as a result of those trees being there, and then the other co-benefits that are associated. Every single tree that is planted is tied to an income, to a household within the community where the reforestation is happening. Our greatest threat is deforestation. And deforestation, unfortunately, is tied to the way we live. We cook with wood, and we always have. We've gotten to a tipping point with wood. If we continue it, it'll kill us, literally. The level of impacts based on the way in which we live our lives, the kind of houses that we build, the way in which we have designed our cities, the way in which we cook, our livelihood dynamics, yeah? Just taking fish to the market, you have to smoke it first. If you smoke it, the only way you can smoke it is that you use wood. Well, maybe not. We've now started a process, of waste to energy to clean cooking, where we have briquettes that can do exactly the same thing. We've set up solar drying centers across the coastal areas so that folks can smoke their fish there, as opposed to using wood. We as government have to create alternatives, and we have to change those dynamics within communities. But in order to do it, it requires sustainable resources. And the World Bank resources, and the resources from the African Development Bank, and some of the bilateral resources that we are thankful to have gotten to start our process are not sustainable because they do not have windows for cities. They do not come to cities in a regular way. They do not create the flexibility necessary for cities to be able to use them and access them, and particularly low-resource cities in a developing context. We are not considered bankable. So what is bankable is our natural resources. And so within the context of the way that we use those natural resources and funnel them through processes that lead back to communities, where we create a green circular economy, we're leveraging resources that come forward. We create a context for continuous resources to be located in the spaces where there is the largest level of vulnerability. That's our structure. That is the Freetown to Treetown process, and that's the Treetown model. And within the context of that model, we are gaining the resources required to finance an equitable transition to adaptation for the most vulnerable communities in our city. Thank you.